My name is Teaira Curry, and my story deals with assault and abuse from the time that I was a child into the encounter that I had as an adult. When I was in Head Start, I had lived with my mother at that time. My mother was on very, very bad. So when I was 4 years old, my mom's neighbor lured me next door with a Gumby toy. And he threw that Gumby toy under the house so quickly and began to assault me, touching me in inappropriate places. And as a 4-year-old at that time, I didn't actually know what was happening at first. It caught me by surprise. I had never had that happen to me before, so I didn't know what to think or feel. It was an eerie feeling because nobody else had done that. After he attacked me, I went back home. I did not tell anybody at that time. Again, I was just so young, I didn't even know how to process what had happened. And so my mother was sold out on. So she would do these, what we call binges, where she would leave for a week or two partying. She was in the entertainment industry too, so sometimes she'd be out of town traveling on the road with the celebrities back in that time, but she also would go use. And so I would then be left with my stepfather. He would be the one to help me get dressed and things of that nature. He was strung out pretty bad. And then when she would come home, I had to witness my stepfather beating her, because she was out for so long. It's like right there, then there's a fight. Even though I was young, I've always loved my mother because, I was taught about God and I felt like if he could forgive and if miracles exist and he's such a big God, my mother can be delivered. I never saw a thing. I just saw my mother. I forgave her. I never held that against her. If anything, I just wanted a better tomorrow with her. Even if it was during visitations or when she come back, even if she only spent one day, I just wanted to be mama's little girl. And so the day that I was taken from my mom, I was still about 4 years old. We had one of those houses where in between the living room and the dining room, there was like a sliding door to kind of seclude the living room and dining room area. I was sitting in the living room and I was on the recliner watching some TV show. All of a sudden, it's like SWAT came in my house. At 4, I didn't know what it was because they didn't look like regular police, but they had helmets on, like black gear and all this protective wear and big guns. So they just came in and they raided the house. In the dining room area, it was my mother, my stepfather, and a bunch of people. So they were having what I thought was a party, but there was usage. So they cleared everybody out of the house. They kept telling my mom and my stepdad to lay down on the ground with their hands behind their head. And my mom was yelling, I'm pregnant, but they weren't playing. They got the gun pointed to her. And I'm looking at all of this. So when they finally heard her say that she was pregnant, they had her to turn a different kind of way. But I had a cousin down a few doors down the street that was dealing with her own issues, but she called my foster mom and told her that, hey, they're going to take years away. So she came and she got me. The last thing I remember from that day was just looking out of the rear mirror as I was leaving with my foster mom, looking and just seeing lights, a bunch of police lights and cars, and that was it. That was the end of me being with me. This is kind of hard because I've never shared this, this part publicly, but I'm here for it. I don't know what I felt. I know that I probably had feelings of sadness because my mother's being told to lay down and she's screaming, I'm pregnant, there's guns, there's police, and just confusion. Like, what the heck is going on? Like, my mom literally, the day that the raid happened, my mom literally got back off the road and got back off of whatever bench she was on. So everything just happened so fast. And I would imagine I felt sad because of it. When I first went, I spent time with my great-grandmother, who was an absolute angel to me. So that kind of felt good, because that's my grand. She always bailed me out of trouble, taught me about prayer, taught me about God, cooked me good meals. So that part was good. But from what I was told from my foster mom, she was too up in age to keep me. And so I would have to be rearranged. So at that point, I didn't too much like that because I thought it was just going to be me and my great-grandmother until the end of time. As far as trying to transition from not being with my mother, I can't really say that I noticed the difference right off the bat because I was very used to her being gone so long. But they were just trying to explain to me, even at a young age, because they always said I was so mature as a youngster. but they were trying to explain to me the situation and that, I may not be seeing her for a long time and things like that. So that was a little disheartening, but by her being gone already, that wasn't too much of a difference. I had younger siblings, and my foster mom, at first she tried to get all of us, but the other kids were in diapers, and so she couldn't take everybody. So she finally settled on me and two of my younger brothers. It started out okay, but then everything started getting real strict. Abuse started happening, and it was just like I started growing up real fast. It wound up being very hard. So about the time I was in kindergarten, so about 5 years old, and that's when the assault started happening with my foster mom boyfriends and friends. There's something that me and my husband like to call throughout our movement, cheap thrills and feels. And that's when a predator will try to tickle a kid and seem like they're playing, but there's a lot of brushing up against the genitals by accident. So at first it was a lot of that happening, but then I was shown throughout the course of the molestation, I was shown rated X magazines, showed how to kiss. I was beat by some people in the foster care with extension cords coming out of the tub. The only thing I can say, because most people have not experienced that, but it hurts really bad to be beat coming out of water. So if you ever belly flopped in a pool, just imagine that times 10. So I would have big webs over my body, my back, my arms, my front, my legs, trying to shield, but I would get beat. One time my foster sister made me eat raw chicken. I was a kid. She wanted to kind of hang out with the guys, and I kept bugging her that I was hungry. So she reached in the refrigerator, grabbed me some old chicken, and I was like, well, it's got these fuzzies on it and this green and white stuff on it. And she was like, you better eat it. So I had to take a bite, and she got back on the phone, and I hid the rest of the food under the couch, and her boyfriend brought her KFC that day. So things like that happened. Also, that same stepdad that used to watch me when my mother was on benches, sometimes he would come and babysit. And one time in particular, when he came over, he molested me. And because he was strung out as well, is, what was happening. Not excusing, but he was off and on. So he said, while he was molesting me, he said, you remind me of your mother. I just felt so bad about it that, I kind of went maybe in my room and hid for a little while. He apologized and said he'd never do that again, and I've never had that happen again. When I would try to tell my foster mom, she wouldn't believe me. Her thing was, why is it that every man that comes in this house have to want you? One time her friend actually, got up at night, came into my room, lifted up my gown, he completely me. I had a discharge. Went over to my great-grandmother's house and asked my aunt some type of question dealing with the female anatomy, and that sparked a red flag that something was not going on right with me at the foster home. So my great-grandmother made my foster mom take me to the hospital, and that's when they realized that, that I had been sexually assaulted, that there was some things going on. They took me to see a psychiatrist, and I was a little girl then, maybe around 7. And I remember the doctor asking me, what does a look like? And I said, like a banana, but black. That doctor had no more questions, but it was deemed there was nothing wrong with me. So the people that were assaulting me, they were like friends of the foster parent, like her boyfriends and things like that. My stepdad, he did it that one time, but it was inside of the foster home. My foster parent was at work. One time, there was a female neighbor that assaulted me as well. She was from down the street, and so that was very different too. One of the friends of the foster parent, he came into my room. It was late at night, and I had on a long gown, very long gown down to my ankles. He came in the room and he woke me up, and he was saying that, you're a tease and things like, you don't even have any panties on. And at that time, my foster mom, I only had 2 pair of pants. So I was taught always wash them, hang them up, let them dry. But that was none of his business to know that. But he was calling me a tease because I didn't have on any undergarments under my gown. He just, forced his way inside of me, told me to be quiet. Pretty much, after that, I wound up staying with my great-grandmother for a while until he was removed from the house because he had moved in. The abuse happened with him. I would say I told my great-grandmother and my aunt. which is her daughter, who stayed with my great grandmother. I told them both what happened. So my great grandmother told me that I needed to start journaling. And I didn't just tell her what happened with him, but I told her about what happened with the guy that showed me the Rated X magazine. I told her about what happened with my stepdad. And she said, you need to journal and you need to start writing everything that's happening to you, the dates and everything. I would say she kind of tried to keep me a little bit more when she realized that was happening. And I'm grateful that she told me to write, because it was very cathartic, because I started turning I would say kind of rebellious, just so much anger was built up inside of me. I wanted to physically harm my foster care mother. I wanted to harm the people that was doing things to me. In my mind, I was plotting ways that I could, do something harmful to them, because I was tired of it. I was tired of going through bullying at school. I leave from an abusive home to school trying to get some relief. Can't do that because I'm getting bullied about my hair or what I'm wearing. Then I come back home and got to worry about if there's somebody over there that's going to assault me again, or if I'm going to get beat again. It was a lot going on. So the writing helped me to release a lot of the stress. The writing and music, that's how I started becoming a writer. So at first I would write poetry. Of course, I would journal what happened. I would write poetry, and then I said, well, music is kind of like poetry. It just got a little beat to it. So then I started writing songs and then short stories and plays and stuff like that. And it really helped me. I would get lost into my music, lost into my journaling, my diary. Well, we had kind of moved to Atlanta when I was 13 years old, when I moved to Atlanta. So it was a fresh start, When I turned 18, I went back to my home state, which is where my grandmother was before she passed. I just felt like I had to go back, and I had a job there. So I worked hard. I was in sales. I was also in fast food industry, but I played hard. I was trying to become the next American Idol or Diddy's Making the Band type of girl. I just went after my dreams, but I just wanted to have a boyfriend. I wanted that first boyfriend to become my husband, and I wanted to have kids to give them the life that I did not have. So I literally hit the ground running. At 18, I started drinking. I started smoking. And I worked hard, but I prayed hard. So that kind of messed up my judgment on guys. I just thought, hey, I'm a faithful young lady. I got my head on my shoulders. I just graduated from high school. I'm focusing on my career. Why would anybody want to cheat on me or do me wrong or anything like that? So at first it was pretty good at 18. When I came back from my home state to Atlanta, I went downtown with my girls. I was at a red light. It was a car with two guys in it, and they were kind of flirting with me and my two friends. The driver, long story short, we exchanged phone numbers and we began talking. Right off the bat, I noticed that he had an accent, and I was just like, oh, this is different. I have a Jamaican friend. So we started dating, going out to eat. I went to his house a couple of times, and he starts to introduce me to his family. So older women had told me that if a guy introduces his family, that's a good sign if he wants to marry you. So I was excited. I said, this might be the guy. So he takes me downtown to meet his cousin at his job. His cousin was seeing cool. He was like, do you have any friends? And I was like, yeah. And he said, okay, how about we have a little double date, a little party at my ex-boyfriend's house? And we set that up. We got off of work around 7 o'clock and we head straight to my boyfriend's house. As soon as I get to the door, I'm greeted with breakfast. He was like, go ahead and eat, relax. I'm going to go and pick up my cousin from the train station. I'll be back. I said, okay. So the breakfast drink tasted a little funny, but I figured because they're from a different culture, it might just be how things taste. Even my friend said it tasted a little weird. I gave her a sip, but we didn't think none of it. My boyfriend and his cousin comes back. They have the alcohol and everything. Now we're drinking beer, we're smoking. Me and my friend was talking, him and his cousin was talking. We were just having a good time, I thought. So me and my boyfriend, we leave off at some time during the party to go into a different room and to become intimate. And while we became intimate, I blacked out. And when I came to, his cousin was on top of me, me, my body. He didn't have on any clothes, no protection, just completely. I pushed him off of me. I grab the covers, wrap them around me because I don't have no ink clothes myself. I go looking for my friend and I go looking for my boyfriend. They're in a totally different room down the hall. He was under the covers. He had a shirt on from what I could see. My boyfriend was sitting in a chair beside the bed, fully clothed, shoes on and everything. So I pulled him to the hallway to let him know what's happening. He didn't give me any reaction. And so again, I repeated myself. And now he starts acting as if he cares. And he's like, you know what? I got to get this so out of my house, take a shower and relax. I'll be back. So that's what I did. All victims know when that happens, you feel disgusting. You just want to wash up and get that off of you. So I'm starting to tell my friend what happened. And this time I blacked out again. And I didn't get up until around 12 midnight, 1 o'clock that next morning. And as I was taking her home, she just said, T, you've been set up. And it was the most eerie ride ever, taking her home. But she told me that. I went home, I was just depressed, stayed in my room for a while, called off work. I couldn't get in touch with the guy, female friend, or the cousin anymore. Finally, the guys answer the phone. I tell them, look, because at age 18, I thought AIDS was the worst thing you could get. I said, if we take a test and it's negative, I'll just dismiss everything. They agreed to take an AIDS test. My mother calls me. She's in a whole different state. She called me. She said she just felt something was wrong. Finally told her what was going on. She said, no, forget that AIDS test, get the police involved, and get a rape kit. So I did just that. The detective came, picked me up to take statement, and he also took me to the hospital for a rape kit. I'm glad that I got the kit done because I found out that I had HPV, or human papillomavirus, and that it was affecting my cervical cells. So I had cancerous cervical cells. The officer that was taking statement, he kept asking, was there anybody else there at the party that saw what happened? And I kept telling him my friend was there. And about the third time I said my friend was there, he said, ma'am, that is not your friend. And that's how I found out that all three of them were in on the setup. She had a reputation at work for being loose and everything, but I didn't want to judge. I didn't think she was capable of doing that to another woman. Once I get the kid done and find out what's happening, I just knew my life was over. I was like, this is God punishing me for fornicating. I wasn't married. I was just sleeping around with people. So a different friend of mine, a male friend, he went with me to these procedures because I had to get procedures done every 3 months to check the cervical cells, the cancerous cells. So he came, and after one of the appointments, when they said it was getting worse, he proposed to me. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? I may not be able to have your kid. And I might die. He didn't care. He proposed, and about a year and a half into the marriage, there was no more HPV, no more cancerous cervical cells. The doctors cannot medically tell me how things changed so quickly, from having the diagnosis to now everything was normal. But I serve God, and I know it was nothing but the grace of God that took that from me. And we have 8 beautiful children, so nothing's wrong with the cervix. And that's when I decided, once I was able to heal mentally, physically from all the abuse, from childhood on up to that point, that's when I was able to create a movement and help other people. I am 37 years old now. After I was able to heal enough to tell the story from a place of power, I had decided to use what I have and to speak, kind of let people know about the red flags in relationships so that they could avoid those type of things. So I became a relationship coach, a speaker, an author. I first took to Facebook, and I would just come on twice a week, just giving gems. The DMs and the love that I got from people saying, hey, this happened to me too, it was just incredible. I feel like once something happens to you, once you overcame that bridge, you should turn back around, hold your hand out, and help somebody else cross that same bridge that you once had trouble crossing. I am happily married. It's been 18 years and counting since all of this, because me being with my husband, that happened shortly after. We were engaged for a while, for about 4 years, after that assault took place. And then we got married. So we have 8 beautiful kids. My oldest is 13. My baby is 1. So ironically, the same guy that went with me to the hospital for moral support when I first found out that I had HPV and cancerous cells, he's my husband today. So we dated, we were engaged after that for 4 years, and now look, 18 years and counting. My advice to anybody out there that's listening and going through trauma, first of all, my heart goes out to you because I hate that this has to happen to some people, to anybody. I want you to first of all know that it was not your fault. It's not about what you wear, what you wore, your personality, you were too trusting. You don't have the mind of a predator, so you weren't thinking that. I want you to know that you're not alone. It's not your fault. Even though it can feel degrading and humiliating, I need you to open up. And even if you don't do it on a public platform yet, at least have a friend or a confidant, somebody that you can trust in to open up to. Now, there's plenty of organizations that will let you be anonymous, in what's going on. But if you can find a friend to talk to that will listen, please get help.